The manila envelope struck my kitchen table with a muted thud that reverberated through my entire being. My father-in-law. Ian's meticulously groomed hand rested over it, his gold wedding band reflecting the morning light. "This house will be ours by the conclusion of the month," he remarked, his lips twisting into what I can only characterize as a predatory smile. With a predatory smile, Travis will finally attain a suitable family. I am Zoe. Until 6 months ago, I believed I comprehended the concept of family. Nevertheless, my husband Casey perished in a vehicle accident. His parents revealed their actual nature more swiftly than fall leaves change color. Travis possesses a genuine family, I remarked as my hands gripped the back of the kitchen chair so tightly that my knuckles became white as he addressed me, Deborah, my mother-in-law. Her delicate laugh, reminiscent of ice wind chimes, is truly enchanting. "You can scarcely afford the property taxes on this house. How do you anticipate raising our grandchild on a teacher's salary?" I looked towards the stairs, appreciative that Travis was at kindergarten, that he did not need to observe this ambush. I managed well. Casey departed from us well. Ian slid the packet toward me as provided. "The paperwork indicates that the residence was never adequately transferred into your name, which is unfortunate." My hands trembled as I opened the packet, revealing property records, legal papers, and what seemed to be more materials. The eviction notice included dates and signatures and appeared quite official. However, something seemed amiss. "This is implausible," I remarked while examining the documents. "Casey and I jointly executed the deed transfer last year." Ian indicated that there was a processing problem, adjusting his fashionable tie. "Such occurrences are commonplace. Yet, there is no need for concern. Ensure that Travis sustains his standard of living by removing him from his mother." My voice faltered, yet I persevered that I must meet Ian's eyes. "He is 5 years old and needs my presence. Deborah has relocated. The proximity of her costly scent is overwhelming me. We own money. Zoe is the finest. Lawyers, character witnesses, and financial papers illustrating your deficiencies. As do you genuinely wish to subject Travis to an extended court battle?" The words emerged barely above a whisper. A whisper, "Excuse me," caused Ian's smile to dissipate. I stated, "Leave my house." Regaining composure, I discovered an unexpected strength within me. Meanwhile, Ian retrieved his coat, his smug look re-emerging. "The lawyer will reach out. Please contemplate the most favorable settlement for Travis. Could facilitate this process for all." Following their departure, I descended into the papers lay strewn before me like fallen soldiers as my phone vibrated. Text from my sister Andrea inquiring about the outcome. I captured a photograph of the docs that I texted it to her within seconds, and my phone rang. "These appear suspicious," Andrea remarked. "The notary stamp is dated for a Sunday, when government offices are closed," leading to a spark of optimism for Zoe. In my chest. "What are you articulating?" "I am expressing that you should refrain from signing anything and from making any agreements. That I am coming over after work to review every document that Casey has handled." He called and proceeded to the living room, where Casey's photograph was displayed on the mantel, depicting him smiling while holding Travis on his shoulders. "Last year at the beach, I whispered to him that your folks were trying to dismantle everything we had built, although I received another reminder on my phone to pick up. I assure you I will not allow them to interfere." I picked up my keys from Travis at school, but before I left, I gathered all the documents Ian had left behind and stored them safely in my home. Something about those documents in the office troubled me, like a loose thread yearning to be tugged. As I drove to Travis's, I contemplated Cass's final instructions to me, to monitor Dad's paperwork. Initially, I presumed he was delusional due to his injuries. Now, I questioned whether he had been attempting to alert me. I reached as the children were being dismissed from school. Travis raced to me, his backpack bouncing in his dark locks disheveled from play. "Mommy, I created a dinosaur today," and embraced it closely, inhaling its familiar aroma. "Crayons and apple juice are delightful. Please share your thoughts on the way home," he said enthusiastically. In the rear seat, I silently vowed that although Ian and Deborah have wealth and influence, I possessed something more formidable. Andrea spread the truth that Casey was determined to keep hidden in our home. Documents were spread across my dining room table as Isa strode behind us, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. The house was silent. Travis had finally succumbed to sleep. Upstairs, after an hour of persistent requests for just one more story, and "Mommy, look at this," Andrea indicated that the property ID number on the eviction notice does not correspond with your deed, differing by one digit. Isa leaned over our shoulders, Might that maybe be a typographical error? Andrea shook her head, expressing disapproval of the hastily executed and careless job that I reached for my coffee, now cold following hours of document inspection, undoubtedly fabricated. They are indeed forged, as attested by Andrea in her legal capacity. In full operation, although demonstrating it in court presents a different challenge. Ian possesses affiliations with every major law practice. ISA indicated that the city was not yours, to which Andrea responded with a grim grimace, acknowledging the truth of the statement. Yet she continued, commencing a confrontation with an individual such as Rodney Hudson, who has been victorious in custody disputes throughout my middle school years. The mention of Ian's attorney, whom I had only met briefly at Casey's funeral when he handed me his card, knotted my stomach. A business card accompanied by a smile that failed to reach his eyes. There must be additional context, I remarked while rising. Stretch. Casey attempted to convey information regarding Ian's documentation previously. He died. ISA ceased pacing. What precisely did he articulate to monitor his situation? I was unable to complete my father's paperwork due to his intermittent unconsciousness in the hospital, a situation I had not anticipated. Where did Casey store his work materials? Andrea inquired, having already asked everything else. I am heading to my home office, which is largely filled with boxes in the garage. As I mentioned while following her, he consistently brings work home, particularly in the months preceding the disaster. The garage was frigid and reeked of cardboard and engine oil. Large crates labeled "work" remained in the corner, undisturbed since Casey's demise. I was unable to examine them before commencing with the most current. Andrea directed me to retrieve her phone for use. Like a torch, we commenced the organization of financial reports and meeting minutes. Investment portfolios predominantly resembled conventional business documents until ISA presented a USB device containing this video. At the bottom of a folder, she stated that Andrea connected it to her laptop, and we gathered around the screen. Most files were encrypted. Nevertheless, one revealed a spreadsheet detailing wire transactions. Offshore accounts. Holy Andrea disclosed that these sums are substantial. Examine the dates. They correspond precisely with the company's significant property acquisitions. What does this indicate? I inquired, but I was beginning to comprehend. As Andrea articulated slowly, Ian may have engaged in financial manipulation by increasing purchase prices and embezzling funds, which might serve as evidence of misconduct. Upon receiving a text from an unfamiliar number, I was struck by a chilling sense of foreboding over potential serious fraud. Retract your statement now, or Travis will not be the only loss you experience. I will demonstrate it. Andrea instructed ISA to promptly take a screenshot and send it. This is harassment. They are apprehensive, and ISA has come to the realization that they are aware you may possess information regarding them. I collapsed onto a neighboring workbench. What should I do if they are prepared to intimidate me? You must resist, Andrea asserted decisively regarding these documents. Ian is trying to suppress you before you can respond with desperation and fabricated tactics. Determine what Casey was aware of. Yet, Travis is more secure with you engaging in combat rather than capitulating. ISA interjected, contemplating the implications of their actions towards you. What would they impart to him? She was correct, observed Travis, serene on his race car bed, grasping the toy dinosaur that Casey gifted him. During my last birthday, I contemplated Ian's self-satisfied grin, Deborah's frosty laughter, and Casey's demeanor. Final caution. I stated, standing taller, what is our further course of action? Andrea was already typing on her laptop. First, we document everything, then I proceed. A colleague in the district attorney's office, specializing in financial crimes, advises that we proceed cautiously and construct our case thoroughly beforehand. They recognize our capabilities. I can assist as well. ISA mentioned that my firm manages public relations for half. The judges in the circuit may possess information regarding which judges could be favorable to Ian initially. Since the moment I placed that package on my table, I sensed hope. It was no longer only my struggle against them, since I now had allies. The data, and most importantly the truth, are in my favor. Casey was aware. I stated softly. He was attempting to expose them, was he not? Andrea grasped my hand, and now you will complete what he initiated. We persevered through. During the night, I organized documents and constructed our case. While Travis slept comfortably above us, oblivious to his surroundings, Mother was prepared for the battle of her life. The attic was suffocating even at midnight. I moved another dusty box. The flashlight beam illuminated cobwebs and neglected memories from Travis's overnight, his best friend. The first night I allowed him out of my sight since Ian's threats commenced, asked, "Casey, where did you conceal it?" Muttered, recalling his peculiar conduct in the weeks preceding the disaster. He had devoted hours here asserting to be while rearranging old files. My palm encountered a firm object concealed under a stack of photo albums. A leather-bound diary, its spine aged and fractured, was a sight I had never seen before. The phone rang, startling me. Andrea's name appeared on the screen. She informed me that the custody documents lack a preamble, and they have scheduled a hearing for 3 weeks from now. 4 weeks, my voice reverberated in the vacant attic. It is premature, as they are advocating for emergency custody alleging mental instability due to sorrow and RS. Her voice became resolute. They have a psychiatrist prepared to testify, a physician who has never even. She was likely processing Ian's payroll documents when I encountered her. Did you discover anything valuable up there? I opened the notebook, my flashlight illuminating Casey's familiar presence. That I may have discovered a diary. The initial entries were ordinary business meetings and lunch engagements, followed by a midpoint during Father's funds have been sent again, following the same pattern as previously. It is necessary to monitor the transactions. Andrea, I mentioned that my heart is beating. Examine this evidence of the shell corporations. All connections trace back to the Cayman accounts. The key to the Cayman accounts is in the office safe. I reviewed further documents, scanning records. However, there is further information. My father threatened to exclude me if I do not remain compliant. That I informed him that I possess copies of all documents, and he is unaware of the location of the USB drive. Andrea stated that the found items are insufficient. We require those duplicates. A loose photograph has fallen. Casey was in his office before a giant painting of a sailboat, which I had always detested. He persisted on hanging the painting, despite its discordance with the rest of the room. I need to verify everything. Hurrying down the attic stairs, I summoned you back into Casey's office, where the painting stood proudly, precisely how it was left. I have never altered it, as I could not summon the resolve to modify anything. That I slowly pulled it off the wall, revealing a small wall safe behind it. That I mumbled, "Clever Casey," while tracing my fingertips along the margins. But where was the key? I went back to the journal. Upon closer examination, one entry captured my attention. All items were transferred to the new safe. The keys to the location of our initial encounter. She will comprehend the significance of our first meeting. In my thoughts, years ago, at the small coffee shop downtown, Casey was engrossed in a book while I hurried to our bedroom. He retrieved his old copy of The Great Gatsby from the bookcase, discovering something crushed between the pages. It was a small silver key. My hands trembled as I contacted Andrea, stating, "I found it. However, I have not yet opened the safe." Should I delay? No, she asserted decisively. We must ascertain the information. What we are addressing requires me to be placed on speaker. The key was inserted flawlessly into the safe containing the folders. There are USB discs and a sealed envelope bearing my name. I remarked on the plenty present that I am distributing the materials on Casey's desk, which include financial records and photographs. These documents appear to be private financial records from the Cayman Islands. Andrea, photograph everything immediately, then pack all items and deliver them to my office at the earliest opportunity. Tomorrow. A car door banged outside. I froze. Someone is here, I murmured. Get all items have been returned to the safe as per Andrea's instructions. Please let me know when you remove them. Forcefully returned the documents, secured the safe, and scarcely positioned the artwork when the doorbell rang, causing my heart to race. As I came down the steps, I observed Deborah standing on my porch, impeccably groomed despite the late hour. Isn't it past your bedtime? I requested that the screen door remain closed as we needed to discuss matters concerning Travis. In the future, there is nothing to discuss, she sighed dramatically. Ian is prepared to be kind. Zoe provided a significant payout sufficient for you to begin anew elsewhere. Otherwise, you imply that it is acceptable to forsake my son. Be rational, she retorted, her facade faltering. You cannot prevail. Ian is invincible. I contemplated the secure location upstairs. Casey's meticulous record of their offenses signifies a novel occurrence. Following her departure, I messaged Andrea that she is currently secure, but they are approaching. Her response was immediate, driven by desperation. Desperate individuals often err. Acquire assistance. Tomorrow, we engage in battle. I returned to Casey's office, delicately stroking the artwork. You were aware. Didn't you realize you were safeguarding us all along since the discovery? The diary contained an envelope addressed to me, which held a solitary sentence. Trust yourself. You are stronger. Andrea's office thrummed with vitality as she disseminated Casey's paperwork. ISA stood alongside me at the conference table, taking notes on her laptop, while Travis he engaged with his toys in the corner, wearing headphones while seeing cartoons on my iPad. This is incredible, Andrea remarked, presenting a document. Observe these signatures. Ian was sanctioning transfers to fictitious entities and subsequently directing the funds. Return to personal narratives in English, please. I repeated my statement, briefly glancing at Travis to make sure he wasn't listening in. Your father-in-law embezzled millions of dollars from his own company, concealing the funds in offshore accounts. Casey meticulously recorded all details, while Andrea supplemented the documentation with bank records, wire transfers, and photographs of dubious meetings, investors who were merely Ian's associates. My hands trembled as I grasped another folder. Will it suffice to halt the proceedings? The custody lawsuit unequivocally aims to incarcerate Ian, which would be much more advantageous. The conference room door swung open, revealing Rodney Hudson in his fine suit. His timing was flawless yet suspicious, he remarked easily to the ladies. During a brief encounter, I positioned myself to obstruct Travis from sight. Nevertheless, Rodney had already noticed him. Ah, little Travis, how? It is essential for me to document his present living conditions. Therefore, I must go, Andrea abruptly interrupted, asserting that this is a private meeting, accompanied by evidence. Rodney, seeing my clients scattered across the table, pulled out his phone and asked, ISA, would you mind if I took a few pictures? Approach, and I shall summon security with remarkable speed. Despite my ongoing involvement with the building's board of directors, Rodney's smile diminished. Ian requested that I convey a message, a final offer to withdraw immediately, $2 million, and we disregard all else. I found myself laughing, astonished. The chilling manner in which Ian misappropriated business monies or falsified documents struck me deeply. Documents attempting to unlawfully acquire my residence. Caution Mrs. Santiago of such allegations. Such statements may be deemed defamatory solely if they are untrue. Andrea has counted. Now depart, or I will initiate a restraining order. Following Rodney's departure, ISA contacted building security while Andrea was present. They swiftly organized the documents, aware of the situation, as she stated the necessity for rapid action. That I am submitting these to the district attorney today. What is the status of Travis? I inquired while observing my son, oblivious to the surrounding tension. He joyfully remains with you. Andrea informed me that no judge will award custody to grandparents under federal investigation for fraud. My phone received a text from an unidentified number with a final warning that I presented it to Andrea and ISA. Andrea remarked it was amazing while taking a photograph. My screen displays further proof of harassment. They are exacerbating their own predicament. I inquired why I could not retain possession of the house and questioned the motive behind attempting to take Travis. If something were to happen to Ian, Casey would inherit control. Andrea concluded his association with you as his guardian until he reaches adulthood. They are not merely attempting to harm me, recognize that they are attempting to safeguard their plan. As Mom Travis inquired, can we act? I am hungry for lunch. I turned to Andrea and inquired about our next line of action. I have an appointment with my contact at the district attorney's office in 1 hour. ISA, could you please retrieve Zoe and Travis, somewhere secure, just in case. ISA acknowledged my lake house, which is gated with private security. They will never locate them there. I collected Travis's belongings, attempting to present it as an adventure rather than an escape. Hello, friend. Would you consider a short vacation? I possess a residence with an expansive yard and a tire swing. May I bring Rex along? He embraced his dinosaur toy more tightly. As we exited through the rear entrance, I observed Rodney in the foyer, engaged in an intense phone conversation. He failed to notice us in ISA's car as Travis succumbed to sleep. Rex grasped his chest, and I observed the city fade away almost instantaneously. Gazing through the glass, I contemplated Casey's comments in his letter. Trust yourself. You are stronger than they realize. My phone buzzed again. Andrea stated that DA is analyzing everything, the most significant fraud case she has encountered in years. Stay careful, we will call tonight. ISA glanced at I am surprised by my own sincerity for the first time since Casey's demise. I feel as though I am fulfilling his wishes. I observed Travis, serene in his car seat, safeguarding our son. Ensuring that justice is administered, even if it necessitates incarcerating your in-laws, particularly as I touched the window seeing the onset of rain. They prioritized wealth over familial bonds. Consequently, they will forfeit both. The highway extended before us, guiding us toward safety, while Andrea readied herself to reveal the truth about Casey's death. Shielding against the impending storm, I found myself uncharacteristically unafraid of being ensnared by it. 3 days in ISA's lake house felt as if inhabiting an alternate reality. Travis occupied his days traversing the expansive yard, while I flinched at every unforeseen occurrence. The trial was about 2 weeks away. "Mommy, look what I discovered," Travis exclaimed as he approached. The man held something in his wet hands. It resembled Daddy's, and my heart ceased as it lay in his palm. A silver key resembling the one I discovered in Casey's book. "Where did you acquire that?" "Near the large tree. There is a box that I followed him to, situated by an ancient oak." The property line revealed a small, weathered metal lockbox, partially hidden in its roots. When my phone rang, without greeting, Andrea instructed me to switch on Channel 7 News, prompting me to rush inside. Travis lagged behind me while ISA observed her face, which had turned pallid on the screen. Ian stood outside his corporate headquarters, encircled by reporters, as the ticker below displayed "Major Fraud." "An investigation has been initiated." The CEO refutes the charges, asserting they are unfounded. Ian expressed his typical confidence, which was faltering, regarding this family situation that was being distorted by the broadcast. Transitioning to a reporter, sources indicate that substantial proof of extensive financial malfeasance was submitted to the district attorney's office earlier this week, including materials purportedly gathered by the CEO's deceased son, Casey Santiago, prior to his. Andrea whispered to me that the death of Casey Santiago last year has left them in a state of fear, but caution is advised for Zoe. I have obtained a copy of a letter they intend to submit to the court, which they assert pertains to Casey. He was psychologically unwell prior to his death and created the evidence during a breakdown, while Travis grabbed at my sleeve, saying, "Mom, may I present the box now?" "One moment, please." I returned to the phone. "They are attempting to discredit him, and the situation is deteriorating. They have secured a psychiatrist willing to testify that grief has induced paranoia, causing you to cling to Casey's delusions," while ISA muted the television for Zoe and Travis. I discovered something of interest. I trailed them back outside to the oak tree, where the lockbox was little and rusted. The edges of the key that Travis discovered fit seamlessly into a USB drive, and a sealed envelope, dated 1 week before Casey's accident, caused my hands to tremble as I opened it. "Andrea," I whispered into the phone, "Casey was present at Isela's residence and left an item. How is that feasible?" "He would, as I informed him, utilize it." ISA interrupted. "He contacted me last that he indicated that he required a secure location to store some documents. I gave him the gate code, but I never knew if he used it or not." I scanned Casey's letter, my breath seizing. Andrea knew, he knew, they may attempt to discredit him. "This letter is a sworn statement regarding Ian's fraudulent activities. This letter has been reviewed by a federal judge, specifically Judge Margaret Reynolds. Andrea Reynolds is managing your custody case. She is renowned for her incorruptibility, which is why Ian has been attempting to transfer the case to another court." Travis, disinterested in adult discourse, had retreated to his play area, which I observed. Observing him through tears, I noticed numerous similarities to Casey in his actions. I remarked, "There is more," as I continued reading, additional bank account numbers, dates, and names of all parties involved. Casey generated a comprehensive backup of all pertinent information. Alters everything. Andrea asserted that they cannot assert he was unstable if he actually was. Clear-minded enough to involve a federal judge. And Reynolds must now recuse herself as she is a potential conflict. I received an SMS notification from an unknown number once more. "What do you think? You believe you are secure at the lake house. Reconsider, Andrea," I stated with a strained voice. "Be aware of our location. Exit immediately. I am contacting the authorities." ISA was already present. I am relocating my vehicle, which is fully packed. I consistently maintain emergency packs prepared. I hurried to Travis. We must embark on another journey. Nonetheless, I prefer this location. A headlight illuminated the yard as a car approached the gate at ISA's back door. ISA calmly stated, holding Travis's hand, "I have a vessel prepared at the dock for standard evacuation. Do you possess an evacuation procedure?" She smiled bitterly. I am employed in corporate public relations require thorough preparation. You might be astonished by the necessary measures. As we discreetly exited from the rear. As someone started to knock on the front door, Travis, sensing our anxiety, kept quiet as we hurried down the path to the secluded pier. The boat was small but swift as ISA guided us across the dimly lit lake. I drew Travis close, the lockbox gripped in my free hand. Where are we going? He asked. I vowed to observe the illumination of the following vehicles from a secure location, reflect upon the water behind us, and this time we are not fleeing. We are proceeding towards W, reflecting on Casey's correspondence with the judge, Reynolds, with all the evidence now securely in our possession, is certain. As I sprinted towards justice, my phone illuminated with a message from Andrea, police are on route. Judge Reynolds intends to convene first thing tomorrow, creating a palpable anxiety at the courthouse as I waited, alongside Andrea. Travis is securely positioned with ISA in a safe spot. Ian and Deborah sat across the aisle, their impeccable attitudes revealing no indication of the turmoil they had produced at the lake last night. Judge Reynolds entered the residence with a stern face that disclosed nothing regarding our early morning meeting in which she studied Casey's sworn statement. Your Honor, Rodney commenced standing that in light of recent developments, we request a change of venue due to the likely denial by Judge Reynolds. This court is well cognizant of the circumstances. Proceed with your case. Rodney swiftly regained composure and commenced a rehearsed discourse regarding my alleged Mrs. Santiago has demonstrated progressively paranoid behavior since her breakdown following her husband's demise. She has fabricated extravagant allegations and absconded with the child to concealed locations. Despite Andrea's objections, the interrupted counsel is presenting conjecture as truth, supported by the judge. Reynolds inquired of Mr. Hudd whether he possesses any concrete evidence on Mrs. Santiago's purported actions. We have an expert witness, Your Honor, Dr. Phillips, a gray-haired gentleman, regarding the instability. Dr. Phillips, clad in an expensive suit, mounted the stand. I had never encountered him before this moment. You have assessed Mrs. Santiago's mental condition based on observed behaviors, and Andrea, the witness, has never met my objection on the stated incident. Client, this is he. Your Honor, Rodney has urged that Dr. Phillips is a prominent authority on grief-induced paranoia. Judge Reynolds inquired whether Dr. Phillips has ever treated Mrs. Santiago, which, while not acceptable, renders his testimony inadmissible. Proceed to the next. I observed Ian's face redden as his meticulously crafted argument commenced. Deborah, trembling, gripped her luxury handbag so firmly that her knuckles turned white. Your Honor, Rodney attempted once more, possess documents evidencing Mrs. Santiago's financial incapacity to provide. In fact, Andrea intervened. We approached the bench with a folder and present evidence that we have previously submitted the financial records to this court. The court proceedings were false, and the gallery was filled with whispers as Ian arose abruptly. I object to these unfounded claims. Mr. Santiago, please take a seat, Judge Reynolds instructed. M. Butler presented a document related to the bank on the courtroom screen. Statement filed by the plaintiffs indicating Mrs. Santiago's alleged financial difficulty, which she subsequently altered. The visuals represent the bank's official statement, which presents a markedly different perspective. Rodney argued that these materials were stolen and obtained illegally. Andrea was explicitly stated by Casey Santiago prior to his demise, coupled with evidence of significant financial fraud committed by Ian Santiago that was verified and observed by this very court. The courtroom erupted as Judge Reynolds struck her gavel, commanding order. Your Honor, Rodney stammered, this is exceedingly odd. What is irregular, Judge Reynolds stated, is the attempt to utilize phony paperwork. To obtain custody of a child while under federal investigation. Ian stood again. Demand nothing, Judge Reynolds retorted. Sit down, or I will have you removed. After she was removed, she turned to me and asked, Mrs. Santiago, do you have anything to add? I remained silent. My voice is steadier than anticipated. Yes, Your Honor, would want to submit Casey's final letter for consideration, evidence he authored elucidating his apprehensions around the possibility of his parents attempting to kidnap our son. Rodney arose abruptly. Objection. This constitutes hearsay from a deceased witness, whose evidence was duly recorded. Judge Reynolds personally verified Andrea's count, resulting in a hushed courtroom as Ian and Deborah exchanged glances. Panicked expressions emerged as their attorney hurriedly sifted through his documents. Nevertheless, Andrea persisted, stating, We have evidence of continued harassment, including threats directed at my client last night by the plaintiff's associates. Judge Reynolds examined the room for an extended period after the trespass on private property. The court finds no validity in the plaintiff's custody petition. Considering the information presented that I am sending this problem about fake documents and witness intimidation to the district attorney's office, Honor Rodney objected. Furthermore, she stated, I am issuing an immediate restraining order prohibiting Ian and Deborah Santiago from approaching within 500 feet. That I heard Mrs. Santiago or her son, followed by Deborah's sudden intake of air. Ian's complexion shifted from crimson to ashen as the case was dismissed, accompanied by the sound of the gavel striking. Court officers approached Ian, finally allowing you to leave. Mrs. Santiago, Deborah Andrea took hold of my hand, signaling completion. Not yet, I said, observing my surroundings. As the criminal case began, ISA's photo of Travis vibrated on my phone. Engaged in joyful play within their safe environment, blissfully ignorant that his future had just been assured, Casey would take pride. Andrea softly stated that he was aware of my response when I collected my belongings with Ian and Deborah, fully aware of the impending consequences. He led us away and provided us with a route to follow. Outside the courthouse, reporters awaited with cameras. However, I scarcely acknowledged them. My sole focus was on departing. Travis, embracing him closely, and commencing our new existence devoid of threats, unencumbered by fear and imbued with truth. Casey had endeavored to safeguard the federal. The courthouse presented a distinct form of intimidation compared to family court, since I occupied the witness box, confronting not just Ian but also others. Deborah, along with a jury of 12 individuals, would determine Mrs. Santiago's destiny. The prosecutor commenced by asking when you first became cognizant of the financial problems at your father-in-law's. I observed Travis seated between Anda and ISA in the gallery, engrossed in his coloring book for 3 months. Significant time had elapsed since the custody hearing, during which he had developed considerable strength. It began with the custody case, during which I demonstrated that they attempted to utilize fake documents. My husband intercepted documents meant for my son after discovering their plan, which prompted Ian's new attorney to intervene. Speculation regarding the defendant's knowledge superseded the judge's directive to proceed. I assist at In Casey's journal. My husband recorded all the fraudulent companies. He was aware that offshore accounts and money laundering were attempts to undermine his credibility, so he established a safeguard against the prosecution. Casey's sworn testimony was exhibited on the courtroom screens. This statement, attested by Judge Reynolds, elaborates on whether you uncover the evidence of the $50 million in embezzled funds. Son, I smiled at Travis, who discovered the key to a lockbox containing the final item. Evidence indicated that Casey had concealed it in a location known solely to me. Ian's expression twisted with fury as Deborah applied a dab. She dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief as her flawless makeup began to deteriorate. The prosecutor introduced additional evidence. These bank records indicate regular transfers to accounts in the Cayman Islands, all authorized by the defendant Ian Santiago. Did your husband elucidate the reasons for his initiation? Researching these transfers revealed the misappropriation of client funds for property acquisitions at exorbitant costs, with the disparity being siphoned off via shell corporations. And when he challenged his father, Ian threatened to annihilate him. As I met my father-in-law's stare, Casey. The courtroom speakers emitted Casey's voice, stating, Dad, this must cease. Engaging in such actions is unlawful. Ian's recorded voice responded, You ungrateful wretch, I constructed. This company owes its existence to me. Betray me, and I will retaliate. Certainly, you forfeit everything. Deborah collapsed in tears as Ian's attorney made a plea. The judge denied the recess. Mrs. Santiago, the prosecutor, proceeded with the case. A week after this confrontation, Casey died in an automobile accident. The brakes malfunctioned, prompting a reaction from the jury. This was novel information that the FBI had only recently acquired. Recently completed their inquiry into Casey's death. Opposing Ian, the lawyer exclaimed, This is prejudicial, Your Honor, to which the prosecutor responded, We have. The FBI's forensic analysis confirmed tampering with the victim's vehicle, prompting the court to permit its admission, causing Ian's face to blanch. Mrs. Santiago, what do you perceive was your husband's primary objective in collecting this evidence? Protect our son, I stated with a calm voice. He understood their capabilities and recognized that they would attempt to abduct Travis as well. He relinquished control of the corporation, allowing us to confront the prosecutor, who indicated no further action. During cross-examination, Ian's attorney attempted to portray Casey as unstable, that I am perceived as vengeful. However, the evidence was overwhelmingly compelling and the documentation unequivocal. Upon the jury's return after merely 2 hours of deliberation, Travis had succumbed to slumber in Andrea's lap about the count of conspiracy to commit fraud. How does one establish guilt on the charge of monetary offenses? Guilty of laundering and witness manipulation. The term guilty resonated around the courtroom as the final charge of conspiracy to commit murder was announced. I held my breath, feeling terrible as federal marshals escorted Ian and Deborah, incarcerated in handcuffs. They would be ineligible for parole for a minimum of 20 years. Courthouse reporters surrounded us once more, but ISA's public relations staff forged a passage through them while Andrea carried the sleeping Travis, the vehicle, while I delivered a succinct declaration. My spouse perished in an attempt to reveal the truth. I articulated it later that evening at home, and the truth about microphones came to light. Travis is in Casey's office, gazing at his father's photograph. His father was a hero, was he not? He inquired as I positioned myself beside him, drawing him nearer. Yes, my dear, he safeguarded us even in challenging circumstances. He was unable to be present as a guardian angel. Just then, my phone vibrated. A communication from Andrea indicates that the federal seizure of assets has been sanctioned, Travis's trust fund has been reinstated, and any items misappropriated by Ian will be returned. To the victims. I observed Casey's photograph, noting his nice eyes and understanding smile provided us with all necessary resources, proof, allies, and, most crucially, the fortitude to combat. Mom, Travis inquired, can we procure ice? I chuckled, feeling more buoyant than I had in months. Yes, we can procure ice cream. We had administered justice, but more importantly, our future remained ours. The early sun illuminated Casey's office as I finalized the packing of the court documents for storage. Travis sat at his father's desk, meticulously placing action figures among heaps of papers. Mom, look what I discovered. He was holding a little photograph that had fallen behind the desk. It depicted Casey and me at the coffee shop where we first crossed paths, laughing over a spilled cappuccino, when my phone buzzed, signaling a message from Andrea. Have you seen the news? I turned on the office television, and a reporter was present. In a startling turn of events, a reporter stood outside the headquarters of Ian's previous firm. Federal investigators have found similar fraud schemes at 3 other major companies. These are linked to offshore accounts revealed in the Santiago case and are affecting Ian and Andrea as well. The FBI refers to it as the most significant corporate fraud crackdown in 10 years, describing it as a domino effect. Travis pulled at my sleeve, inquiring whether we could now hang Daddy's photo in my room. Certainly, dear Andrea. I must return to the phone. I need to leave as Travis and I have matters to attend to. Before proceeding with the redecoration, please check your inbox. Someone wishes to speak with you. I opened my laptop to see an email from a prominent publishing business requesting that I write a book on our narrative, The Legal Struggle. Nonetheless, the human aspect reveals how a mother and son discovered resilience in the what are your thoughts on the truth their father left behind? Andrea inquired. I believe I observed. Travis meticulously extracted Casey's photograph from its frame. Individuals must be aware that they can resist the truth. The doorbell rang, and ISA stood on the porch holding a moving box labeled Casey's Notes. She had discovered these at my lake. She mentioned the house and said that you would find them useful for the book. How did you become aware of this? She smirked, asking, who do you think recommended you to the publisher? Travis rushed to embrace her. Aunt Isa, do you want to assist me? As they ascended the stairs, I hung Daddy's picture and opened the package, which contained Casey's handwritten notes during his research, as well as personal letters addressed to Travis, one for each instance. He considered every detail of his birthday till he turned 18, ISA. Upon returning downstairs, my mother asked for me to come visit Travis in his room. Travis constructed a remembrance wall, encircling Casey's photo in the center with drawings, ticket stubs and tiny mementos. He has even included the newspaper clipping regarding Ian's conviction. Although I believe he did not, that I do not entirely comprehend it. However, it is flawless, I remarked while embracing him, as my phone emitted a notification. Judge Reynolds indicated that your case has motivated 3 additional whistleblowers to come forward. You are initiating a movement. Sisa read the message over my shoulder. Appropriate individuals are discussing resistance against corruption and advocating for justice that I aim to safeguard my son, and you exceeded that intention. ISA said that you demonstrated to others the possibility of safeguarding their own. Travis withdrew. Casey's antiquated edition of The Great Gatsby, the book he was perusing when we first encountered one another. Can please read this to me? It may be quite advanced for you, my friend. Thank you, Father. I opened the book and discovered Casey's customary annotations in the margins, where he had emphasized a particular sentence. They were reckless individuals who destroyed objects and beings, subsequently withdrawing into their wealth or their excessive negligence. Would we commence with these instead? I retrieved the birthday.as. I opened the first envelope. Travis curled into my lap, and Casey's words permeated the room, beginning with, "Dear." By the time you read this, Travis, you may comprehend the necessity of my struggle. What I most want you to understand is the depth of my affection for you, which ISA discreetly withdrew. As Travis and I perused letter after letter, each one unveiled further insights into Casey's emotions, aspirations, and resolve to safeguard. Even after his departure, the afternoon sun projected elongated shadows through the window as we completed the final letter to Travis that had succumbed to slumber while grasping his father's photograph. My laptop screen illuminated with the publisher's email cursor glowing in the reply box. I commenced typing. I will inform our. The narrative encompasses not only corruption and justice but also a father's love, a mother's resilience, and a young kid who assisted in revealing the truth by discovering a key within the roots of an ancient oak tree. Subsequently, life continued and companies restructured, whistleblowers emerged, and families articulated their concerns with their procedures. In that tranquil chamber, cradling my slumbering infant, I sensed Casey's presence more acutely. Our survival and contribution to change made me sure Casey was smiling.